88.9 WERS. We're back with Gavin Creel and Uzo Aduba from the American Repertory Theater's Prometheus Bound, running at OBERON right now through April 2nd.
I just have to say something really quickly.
What's up?
When you're in a musical, like, that was a live recording, so if you're listening in your car and you're like, what was that? Like, that's like a very real, and when you're in a musical, when you listen to a musical on a CD, it's been mixed and mastered and all the balances and levels, and you know, you do it a million times. But when you sit in your dressing room and you listen to the musical, that's kind of how it sounds like. It's all the breathing and the drama, and people, you can almost hear the sweat dripping off the actor. It's very real and very live. So if you're a little freaked out in your car right now, fear not. Come see us at Oberon.
It's kind of like being there live at the show.
Yeah, a little bit.
So Gavin, when you were here a few months ago, you mentioned that you were going to be doing this kind of weird experimental thing with Diane Paulus.
Yeah.
So it's really cool for me to be able to actually see it. What was the rehearsal process like for this experimental theater? We
spent a few weeks in New York City at a rehearsal space in New York, which is great because all the actors are from New York, and we it was not unlike other musicals that I've rehearsed. You know, we learn the music and we learn the arrangements and have to memorize the words, and you know, that kind of process is the same. But what was great, I found great about the process, was it was very collaborative. It was very much my ideas. If I had one, I would ask about it, and Diane's really good about collaborating with that and like, oh, it's a good idea, let's try that. It didn't work, let's try this, or you know. So I was grateful. I don't. What was your experience in comparison, or?
I thought it was amazing. You know, it's what Gavin said. It's kind of the same in that, like, you learn the music, you go through the blocking, you learn the choreography. But absolutely, you know, Diane is so open and more free, I think, than some directors, with letting you really invite your ideas into the room. And she's really, really great at saying, clearly, that is it, that might not be it, but she lets you try it full out, full blast, you know, and without challenging it or questioning, you know, you before you start, which is freeing for me as an actor to have that opportunity to do that.
Especially with a new piece, because a new piece, to have a director or a writer that sits there and acts like they know everything about it just because they're directing it or writing it, can really shut you down. And what was nice about this group, and we all sort of admitted, we have no idea what we're making here, but we know that it could be something quite exciting. And with the life of a musical, I mean, you do a reading, you do a workshop, you do a first production. This is just the world premiere first production. I believe it will continue to evolve the next production if it goes on, and it could end up, you know, touring, being in New York, it could end up being in other countries or whatever, but I think the root of it, in Stephen and Diane's ideas, it's got a good message. It's about tyranny. It's about being a hero and standing up for what you believe. And what's great about this production specifically is that we're teaming up with Amnesty International to. It's kind of a groundbreaking concept that the entire development process of the musical, Amnesty has been there, and they've been taking meetings and going, okay, what's the situation like with prisoners of conscience, and what are you fighting for, and how could our show help in that message and get that message out? It's using theater to engage the population. And I don't know if you want to say anything about.
Well, you kind of, it's this amazing experience where you can come to the theater and be entertained and have the experience of a story told to you while simultaneously being activated to do something. You know, art and social change, they're not two things that have to be separated. You know, they can be combined, and without, you're not getting beaten over the head or, you know, laid something heavy. It's a simple message. Well, humanity, you know, like
how we're doing it at the end.
And we do it at the end. Yeah, we do it at the end of the show. We tell the story first, which I think is actually a really brilliant way it's set up. We tell the story first, so you get it. Wasn't that awesome? Everybody's rocking, everybody's into it, and they get that basic thing. And then at the end, after we take our curtain, every week one of us steps up, and we have. I mean, you know, it's this amazing thing they've done where we kind of represent the voice of one prisoner of conscience around the world through Amnesty. They've supplied us with, sadly, many people
yeah.
Who are,
horrible
put away
stories.
in horrible stories. And we'll have people, we've gone through representing the women in the Democratic Republic of the Congo who are being systematically raped, telling this story in their name and asking people to kind of come and sign postcards, let their, governments know that this is happening to them and it needs to stop. To Jafar Panahi in Iran, who's a filmmaker who's been locked away for speaking out against a lot of the inhumanities and injustices happening there in that country. To Dondup Wanchen in China, who's also a filmmaker speaking against a lot of the injustices to the Tibetans there, and who are people who are locked away. And you start to realize this is the thing about the theater experience that we're having, where not only do you get to experience, oh my gosh, the actors, everybody's here around me, and oh wow, this light is now on my face, and I'm in the show suddenly.
Yeah, and music's exciting,
and exciting, and all of and you're charged, and you're alive, and you need to help somebody get to this place or carve out of the way, but then you really get to be a part of it in this real physical, active way where you take this postcard, and people take them because they understand it now after having watched this 80-minute journey. They are part of the show in another way.
Right. And I think that's great. And when you have a message about something, especially something as deep as Amnesty does, people kind of can close up and maybe tighten their purse strings. But I think it's so great that you guys just say, here's a postcard, sign it, speak up. And
we're not asking for donation.
Right.
I mean, a lot
You're
of
just
people
asking for people's
get
voices.
a little stiff when they're like, oh, here comes the pitch for...
Yeah.
And even when we do it in New York and we're collecting for Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, that they give... I mean, they sent when Hurricane Katrina happened, Broadway Cares sent $150,000 check on behalf of the Broadway community, and that is entirely because of the generosity of the public that comes to support us, comes to see Wicked, and like they brought their daughters, and they're like, "Oh, I love the Green Girl and the witches," and then somebody says, "Can you help our community?" They think it's just for whatever cause, but Broadway Cares is this massive, multi-million-dollar assistance, and what's neat about this is we're not asking for your money, we're just asking that you care.
Right.
And if the story of Prometheus, at the end of the story, you've watched this one dude chained up and angry why aren't you listening? I mean, I felt that way in my own country in the past, where I feel like, am I in the twilight zone that the government is being run the way it is? And am I in the mind, and you think, I don't know, people want to, if you want to speak out, you got to speak out. If you're upset with the current way things are going, you have to stand up.
Yeah, and that's, I think, an amazing thing that this show kind of, shows you. You have these daughters of the ether who are the girls kind of sort of wearing the veil, having their eyes closed, and then through witnessing the persecution that Prometheus is going through getting the education, being informed, simply, they realize, wait, I can do something. I can stand up against this, I can stand up against Zeus and the tyrant and have a voice. And I think that's the powerful thing, that when you have that moment at the end with the audience, this communal moment where we share, they recognize, wait, I can be a daughter of the ether. I can have a voice. I can do something.
Right. And we do have another little taste of the show for you. Uzo, do you want to set up this next song that we have? Sure.
This next song is called This Is What I Think of Myself. It's a song that Gavin and I sing together. And my character, Io, is a bit of a wanderer. She's been set wandering by Zeus and has just endured a lot of mental and physical anguish that you'll learn more about when you come and see the show. Playing through April 2nd. And it's like, shameless plug.
The OBERON thing.
Yeah, it is. And the two of us, and himself also being strung up, down, chained to this rock, kind of what we've endured and had to go through at the hand of this tyrant and suffer through, and kind of what we've kind of like been bent over to feel about ourselves.
This is another live recording, so there'll be a lot of spitting and yelling and screaming and things.
And screaming.
This is What I Think of Myself, coming up next on 88.9 WERS.
This is Non-Commercial Public